Hey everybody, welcome back to another Judgment commentary of Kaguya-sama, Love is War. But today, we're going to be checking out episode 12, the final episode of season 1. And man, what a good season it has been thus far. It has been friggin' hilarious, to say the least. So it'll be nice to see how this all wraps up for the time being before we move on into season 2 here. But in terms of the last episode, episode 11, we were introduced to Twitter. Twitter somehow became involved in that episode. Yes, Twitter, because why not? Why shouldn't Twitter be involved in this series at some point? Kaguya found out that Miyuki has a Twitter page and she desperately wanted to follow it so she could get some inside information about him, but unfortunately, Miyuki keeps his Twitter profile protected, meaning only people who follow him and he follows back are allowed to see it. And of course, she can't just follow him and then ask to be followed back because yada yada yada, you get it by now. And of course, the series is more than self-aware of that by now, with even Kaguya getting called out for this whole plan of, oh, I'm gonna make my own account private and then try to see if I can make him follow it. Yeah, they're fully well aware that that never works. So, who knows, maybe she's gonna change directions from now on and not try that as much. But in the end, she didn't follow him, so she just had to lie around regretting that. And while she was doing that, Miyuki himself was lying around not doing anything because he's bored with nothing to do in his downtime, and he was gonna text Kaguya to ask how she was doing, but same old story there. But then, in a serendipitous twist of fate, both of them ended up going to the school, to the student council room, in hopes that the other would be there, and sadly, friggin' Miyuki showed up right as Kaguya left, so they just barely missed each other, but I'm not sure how it would have even gone down had Kaguya still been in there. I mean, what would he have even said? Because he was hopeful that she might be there, but I don't think he really expected it. I mean, he can't tell her that he was going there in hopes of finding her because... And then what would she say if he went and asked her the same question back? It would have been interesting. I'm kind of sad we didn't get to see how they'd respond to that, but who knows, maybe we'll see a similar thing at some point. Oh, and how could I forget the segment that happened in the middle there involving Fujiwara, where she just went down to a ramen place, had some ramen, and left. Okay, it was more complicated than that. There was this middle-aged guy there who was a connoisseur of ramen, and he was very impressed with how she was able to order the perfect combination of her meal and just eat it with finesse and all that kind of stuff, when she had no idea what she was doing at all, and it just so happened that her ramen switch was turned on. Yep, Fujiwara has a ramen switch, because apparently, like, when she, starts eating ramen, it's just like a switch that activates in her mind that just makes her get really into it, even to the point where she was a bit distressed when she found that her switch had been turned on. All in all, it's exactly the kind of thing that you would expect out of a segment dedicated to Fujiwara. Also, you may be wondering why there's no GIF on the screen. There's normally a GIF on the screen. The reason there's not is because this old TV, there's like a high-pitched noise that it makes, and for some reason it's being particularly loud today, so in order to spare my eardrums, I turned it off. I had a GIF all set up and ready and everything. It was this one right here. I really wanted to use it. I'm not gonna let this opportunity pass without at least showing it to you, though. Anywho's that's enough prattling away about stuff that doesn't really matter. Let's get into episode 12, the final episode for the season. Perhaps there'll be the summer festival, something involving fireworks. Kaguya really wants to see them, so let's hope she does. Amazing last episode right there, man. As I was already just saying, the fact that that first segment played things just straight. It was fully dedicated to the events of that episode. There wasn't much in the way of them joking around or anything like that. It wasn't silly at all. It was just full focus on Kaguya trying to see those fireworks with her friends. And wow, for the first time ever, Twitter was actually able to do something positive because it allowed her to vent her feelings out into the world without feeling like she was specifically, talking to Miyuki, and he did see the message that she wanted to see the fireworks with everybody, so he's like, alright, let's go, and he immediately springs into action. With direct confirmation of what she wants, he's like, I'm in, let's do it. I don't know what he would have done had she not decided to sneak out, would he just kicked down the door and busted her out of there? If need be, maybe. But that was quite the wholesome finish to that right there, with just not only Miyuki, but all of her friends, doing their part to try to make things work out. Miyuki went off after her, Ishigami went to look for her too, and then ended up getting the taxi, and then Fujiwara helped with the emotional support as well, and I think she was keeping an eye on the phones too. See if there was any updates. And let's not forget the true MVP here, being that taxi driver. That guy, without hesitation, he played along perfectly. He sees Kaguya come back and he's like, oh, you need me to get there as fast as possible? Let's friggin' go, man. He just kicks it up into the max gear, pedal to the metal, gets him right where they need to be, exactly on time. And that look on his face, he knew he had done good. But then once we got to the next segment there, I loved when they showed Miyuki's perspective of his own actions during all of that. That from his point of view, looking back in hindsight, he thought everything he did was just totally cringe. It was just that he looked like an idiot doing all of it, when what we saw before in the episode was either what actually happened, which is very possible, or we were seeing it just directly from Kaguya's point of view. And we know for a fact that she saw him as just being just totally awesome, in charge of the whole situation, a total boss, and really, it probably wasn't as dramatic as Miyuki thought it was. He made himself look super nervous and fumbling when really, at worst, it was somewhere in between those two, but I think Kaguya's perspective of it was probably pretty accurate. I think he managed to stay collected, and it was only in hindsight that he was worried that it may not have been as collected as he desired. I know how he feels. You look back on your interactions with somebody and you're just like, wow, I was being an idiot, but in reality, probably not. You were probably fine just like he was fine. You just get in your own head. Yeah, I can relate to that, Miyuki. I can relate. And honestly, the way it concluded with Kaguya trying to speak up about it and trying to thank him for giving her that totally awesome moment, probably the happiest she had ever been in her entire life, and just unintentionally saying something that set him off. That's just the realization of his, getting in his own head about what Kaguya might be thinking, because, all the time we've seen him being like, oh, she's totally gonna think this, if I were to do that, and because he's already in his head so much about things, her saying something like that was kind of vague, his immediate thought was that she was trying to talk down to him, and he just booked it. Because she was still trying to play it coy, instead of being like, thanks for the awesome night we had. She was trying to be like, oh no, I'm sure it must have been painful trying to, get all that together for me, but yeah, shucks, it could have been as meaningful of a moment as when she, put the finger on the lips and all that, but they were both just way too dreadfully nervous in that moment. They were standing on thin ice. And then they just got to run off with her chasing after him, and then they steeled their resolve, like I said, determined that I'm going to make him confess to me. And if you noticed, there wasn't a similar thing with Miyuki. They didn't have any internal dialogue of him saying, I'm going to make her confess, but because that wasn't really as much on his mind. It is really more Kaguya wanting him to confess more so than him wanting her to do it. I've already said this a couple times, haven't I? I have, but what better time to reiterate than the end of Season 1? That she wants him to confess, and he just doesn't want to confess. That's the dynamic, in case I hadn't made that clear. And honestly, this is one of the best episodes yet, for sure. Just, I loved how straight they played the first part of that. Just so many twists and turns. There was actually a lot of pressure to that, man. And I desperately wanted Kaguya to see those fireworks, dude. She's been wanting to her whole life. She's been kept away from them, and she almost missed it. She missed those first fireworks because, her strict protective family. I mean, seriously, still on that, they're like, oh no, we can't have you go out there to look at them, because what if we lose you in the crowd? What if we just suck at our one and only task? We can't let you go out there just in case we screw it up. Or maybe they were trying to suggest that she would just run off on her own, but even then, it's your job to keep track of her. Even if she tries to run off on her own, you gotta keep an eye on her. That's your job. But in the end, Miyuki and the rest of the gang, including the taxi driver, were total bosses, and they managed to pull off an epic clutch win that was honestly even better and more wholesome than if she had just gotten to go out and watch it with them. Because this will, burn that memory into her mind. Like, it was exactly that moment where Kaguya truly fell head over heels in love with the guy. Because in the end, she actually didn't really see the fireworks, and she didn't hear them either, because she was just so intently focused on him and how awesome he was that she couldn't be bothered. And that's even better. And I'm sure it's only going to up her game, because her tried and true tactics have failed consistently, and she's been called out on that, so I'm assuming she's gonna try to take it up a notch in Season 2, involving her little mind games here. We'll see if she's got any new strategies. I'm excited to see them. Anyway, I think that's all I gotta say for now, guys, but thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like and a comment if you enjoyed. Subscribe to be updated on more. That would be fantastic. Next time, we're gonna check out Season 2, Episode 1, I believe. I don't think there's like an OVA in between or something like that, so guess we'll just get started with Season 2 then. But seriously, I can't stress enough how much I like this finale. It was it was amazing. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time, man. And they had me going thinking that it might actually not work out. I don't know why. I guess I was just that immersed in it that I was actually willing to accept the idea that this would end badly. But I'm glad that it didn't. So yeah, I enjoyed the heck out of it. Let me know what you guys thought of the episode as well. I would appreciate that. And I also hope you guys enjoyed the video too. Sincerely. But like I said, that is it. So, till we meet again, I will see you guys later!